I'm so ready to lose all of my sub count for this video. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Shaki and today, you saw the title, we're going to deliberate whether sluts exist or not. So I've personally wanted to film this video for a very long time, but out of fear of obviously losing my subscribers, I haven't. But now I think it's time to talk about it. The only way we fix certain things in our society like this and like other prejudice and stereotypes, talking about it is the only way we're going to solve them. So this is me talking about it. So I'm sure you've heard the word slut before. It's one of the most common phrases to make a woman feel like shit, basically. It's not really used against men, although we have kind of invented fuckboy and man whore and man slut over the years, but I don't think it's used in more of a derogatory way. Those things are actually indicating promiscuity, and you'll see what I mean in the course of the video. Although the word slut is used quite a lot, it's really hard to define because of how many factors go into someone being a slut. I've said this word so many times and I want to die. So Google defines slut as a woman who has a lot of casual sex or casual sexual partners. Interestingly, despite this definition and a lot of other people's definitions, it's not necessarily how much sex you have as a woman that defines you of being a slut. The Guardian have interestingly said that most conservative columnists link women being sluts or having a lot of casual sex links to the mental health crisis. The Guardian have also referred to magazines who have said we are rearing a generation of prostitutes. What? Most feminists describe being a slut as not necessarily about promiscuity or how many people you sleep with. It's all about how women are going out of social norms of femininity. I can't say that word to save my life. It doesn't necessarily mean that she's having a lot of sexual experience or anyone necessarily cares about this sexual experience. It's the fact that she doesn't follow the rules, and this is what makes her a slut. There are loads of double standard when it comes to sex and having a lot of sex. This is such a cliche, but it's often true that men are celebrated for having a lot of sex, but then the women on the other end of that are, you know, ridiculed for having that much sex. It's more than likely a man will protest about his higher body count. It's not necessarily more common for a man to have a higher body count than a woman, but it's more likely a man is going to protest and to brag about this because a woman knows she'll just be labelled a slut, and we don't want that to happen, do we? So because online spaces are getting more and more popular, with the veil of anonymity, great. The word slut is being used against women on and offline and has had a resurgence in the last 10 years or so. With the rise of the Me Too campaign online and in offline spaces, the word slut is often used to defend victim blaming. So if you don't know what victim blaming is, it's basically where the victim is blamed for something that they have done. If they have been a victim to a crime, there are always loads of things that they could have done to prevent it. So for example, a minor case of victim blaming, maybe not minor, if someone's like wallet gets stolen or someone's phone gets stolen, they're like, you should have had it in your inside coat pocket or not taken it out at all. That is an example of victim blaming. On this scale that we're talking about, where the word slut is used to, you know, make victim blaming okay and to excuse it, is where maybe some people are raped and then they are saying they asked for it because they're wearing certain clothing or they've shaved or they were wearing a sexy bra. That means they wanted it. Just to be clear, someone's, no matter what gender or sex they are, no matter what they're wearing, no matter what they're saying, they can revoke their consent at any time. And calling them a slut just because they rejected you, friend zoned you, or don't want you anymore isn't okay. They just don't want to have sex with you. Deal with it. This is how the word slut has manifested into a whole. It doesn't really matter of what kind of sex you're having or how often you're having sex. It's all about being rejected and people thinking that you're different to them. So they automatically have to put you in a box with all the other sluts and the feminists and them types of people. You know the type. You're watching a type. I actually stumbled across a lot of evidence for victim blaming while I was on my way into researching this topic a little bit more, because I have actually a lot of knowledge on this, but I thought I would just fact check for a few things. But I stumbled across an article that used Hannah Witton's Do I Look Like a Slut video. I actually had that poster on my wall and they ripped it to shits and I honestly felt ill. And it's like a perfect example. I won't link it, but if you can find it, you can have a read. Along with a resurgence of using the word slut against people, most women have now reclaimed the word slut. Basically, what reclaiming a word means is when a marginalised group or part of society reclaims a slur that is used against them. We can see this with something called a slut war. I don't think the popularity of the word thought is an accident, because it's basically another, you know, reincarnation and reclaim of the word slut, but in a nicer way. A lot of women, even other people that aren't women, will call themselves a thought because that's like the positive version version of a slut. It's a reclaim of the word that was used against them. But there are some problems with reclaiming. So for example, for me, the word fat is currently being reclaimed by the plus size community, and I don't personally feel like I can relate to that because I was bullied and had PTSD because of the word fat, and I don't feel like it's something that I would use to describe myself. A lot of black women have the same issue with the reclaiming of the word slut. It's obviously been used along with racial terms and slurs that I'm not going to say because that is not my right. It's not also my right to make a comment on these things, but I would just suggest being very careful in reclaiming words and using umbrella terms such as the word queer, fat, or slut. Sometimes it can be really empowering to, you know, give these terms new meanings and to make them feel like a positive thing, but not everyone's going to have that experience. We've seen the word slut and other words be reclaimed and be politically loaded by feminists. The article that made me feel sick that ripped Hannah Witton's video apart that I mentioned earlier, and a lot of other sources have said that modern feminists this and modern feminists that, and modern feminists are just shit. And don't let that trick you into thinking that you should be like them, like the old feminists. Old feminists are okay because they just wanted rights and food and they should have that, but feminists now, they want to not be raped. I right to call you a slut because you're a slut because you're wearing a fucking dress. It's hot, okay? I have a problem with people separating modern feminism with old feminism because the old feminists got on people's nerves. They were reckless. They got arrested. They killed themselves for their cause. The suffragettes weren't some fucking pretty and pink ladies who were like, we want rights. They fucking punched people. They burnt their bras. They were doing illegal shit. They were standing up for their rights. They were as annoying as the modern feminists. So please do not put people in a box to make sure that you have this kind of control back, because if modern feminists now think, yeah, the older feminists who just wanted fucking rights, they were better, so let's go back to that. And then we get pushed further back into boxes. Like, if they're going to push back to them times where feminists existed, let's push them even further, back when feminism didn't exist. Don't let them push you and believe into thinking that this nostalgia, this white nostalgia, the obsession with the past is better than the present, because it isn't. We've passed so many laws as modern feminists in racism and intersexuality and being disabled and sex positive and all of these other things. Do not let them trick you into thinking that we are the problem. It's the people who refuse to change that are the problem. In these videos where I ramble about shit that I'm passionate about, this is an example, I always use a site called Psychology Today, and this video was no different. So I really wanted to see the psychology of calling someone a slut, and I found a really interesting study. So basically, 4 psychologists went to a party dorm of 53 other women. Because university is such a scary time, you're moving out of your home, you're drinking a lot more, you live alone, or you live with people who you don't know. They started going to these sororities and they would section people off who weren't like them. The psychologists noticed a huge pattern in these sororities and these women. They were stereotypically thin, blonde, tanned, pretty. Interestingly, they regularly described other women, as sluts. And even more interestingly, they never said it to them, they said it behind their backs. It's also interesting to note that the definitions of a slut will differ between classes and races, and if you're not conventionally pretty and you're still having some kind of success in any department, whether that's sex or romance or, in university, you're a slut. It is said that there is no basis on how promiscuous you are when calling someone a slut. It's dependent on how different you are to that person. They are afraid of you, so they get angry and they call you a slut. In fact, most women who don't have a lot of sex are called sluts, and the people calling them the sluts have had the most sex, but they won't admit it because they know the score. So do sluts exist? To this evidence, it would point to no, because people are calling other people sluts for reasons apart from their sexual promiscuity. They're cheaters, then they're not sluts. They're cheaters. They are horrible people, so they're not sluts. They're horrible people. So this word slut has been socially constructed to mean so many things that what is it anymore? Does it even exist? My argument, no, because there are so many other less derogatory slurs and words that you can use to describe someone who you're not getting on with, rather than just referring and boiling it down to how many times their vagina is penetrated by a sex toy or a penis. Fucking case closed. If we as women want to remove these negative slurs in these places, we have to learn to support each other, no matter what your race is, no matter what your religion is, no matter where you come from on the social economic scale, no matter if you're disabled or able-bodied, or if you're in some kind of just state of insecurity. We have to support one another as women, as non-binary, as gender fluid, and we all have to come together to support one another. If one woman is calling another woman a slut, is that not setting a really bad example? I can't believe that most women who say they're a feminist call other girls sluts and then think, have I just ended sexism by being a feminist? When I call people sluts and then I'm like, no, you fucking didn't! We need to set that example, and it's the only way of changing what the word slut is and the fact that it even exists. So next time you go and call someone a slut or a slag or a whore or a thought, think about the terms in which you're using this. Is this true, or is it just you being a cunt? If you don't like somebody, call them something else. That's not what you mean. In conclusion, I do not personally think sluts exist because it just has a variant meaning and people use the word slut in place of things that they don't really understand. It's a way to restrict and be derogatory against women who A, are actually sexually promiscuous, B, are victims of crime that you don't think should be talked about or discussed, or like a woman is not liked, and I don't think that is fair at all. Sluts don't exist. And also, if you're calling a slut because they rejected you, that sounds like a you problem, not a them problem. Thank you so much for watching this rant, this video. I really hope that you kind of enjoyed it and got some education. I'm sorry if I come across as really weird. Don't leave me hate comments, just fucking click off of it. That's all you have to do. But I hope you learned something, and I hope that we can eradicate slut in the long run, because it's a really fucking horrible word. If you like this video, this discussion, please give it a massive thumbs up and subscribe. I make videos every single Monday for weekly vlogs and Wednesday for videos just like this one and reaction content. Don't forget to hit me up on my social medias, they'll be linked down below. But for now, I will see you next week for a brand new video. 1, 4, 3. Bye!